Hey guys, this is Erica Robert, your psychological fitness coach. If you've been following along, up to this point we've talked a lot about goals. We talked about identifying what our goals are, why they're important, and the steps that we're going to take to help us achieve them. And also we've started to create a plan for monitoring our progress with our goals. This week we're going to touch on something just a little bit different, and that's going to be how to create habits. Habits are behaviors that are efficient, lack awareness. In other words, they're below our consciousness, they're unintentional and uncontrollable. And we want to create habits because if we do certain behaviors that we want to be doing automatically without thought, without intention, that also means that we're not having to invest a lot of mental effort or energy into following through with that behavior, meaning that they're not distressing, and we're going to be doing them all the time. And like we're going to talk about today, consistent practice of these goal behaviors is what we need in order to help us achieve our goals. So we can have good and bad habits. But for example, a good habit of mine is I have created a very strong habit of going to the gym every day. And I tend to go around 5 o'clock. The days that I'm not supposed to go to the gym, when I'm supposed to rest, or maybe I get stuck having to do schoolwork or something, I find myself around 5 o'clock, which I'm feeling just because of what's going on throughout the day, just this need to go to the gym. There's been more than one time that I just find myself driving to the gym without even thinking about it. I look at the clock and it's about 5 o'clock and I realize, oh, this is just what I do at 5 o'clock every day. It took no intention. I didn't do it on purpose, and there's no distress associated with it because I just did it automatically. So we want to help you guys create your own habits that are going to be helpful to you achieving your different goals. So how do we create a habit? The simple answer is through consistent practice, but we have to figure out what that actually looks like. And I pulled some research for you guys so that we can figure that out. So one study completed by Lally et al. In 2010 took participants who were trying to create new habits that were health or fitness related. So that might be drinking more water, eating healthier, working out more regularly. And what they found is that the more consistency the participants practiced these behaviors, the more likely the behaviors were to become automatic. And while there was a lot of variation in how long it took for people to create habits, the average was about 66 days, or in other words, 9 weeks. But there was a lot of variability from 18 days to 254 days. What does that mean? That means that it took some people just under 3 weeks to create a habit, while it took other people a little bit under a year. So you could fall anywhere on there. And we don't know exactly where you'll fall. But we want to keep practicing our behaviors consistently until we have created a habit, at which point we will continue to do them consistently. It just won't be effortful. Something else that Lally et al. Found is that missing one day of the target behavior didn't lead to significant loss in automaticity of the intended habit behavior. So if you, for example, intend to go to the gym, well, actually we don't even tell people to go to the gym every single day, but taking a rest day or two a week would not decrease the chances of you being able to actually create going to the gym as a habit. But we do want to practice this regularly. So let's get into that. There was a randomized controlled trial published earlier this year by Kushel et al. That took new gym members that were hoping to create new habits with working out. So we're going to follow this protocol because it was found to be helpful. The first thing that they did is the participants were instructed to choose one target behavior. So I want you to think about what your goals are, what your primary goal is, and consider what is the behavior that is either going to represent the biggest change in your lifestyle, or the behavior that is most strongly associated with you meeting your goal. Chances are these are probably the same behavior. For example, working out might be a behavior that you're not currently practicing consistently and is also the biggest contributor to you putting on muscle mass or losing weight, for example. So I'll ask you to choose one behavior to work on becoming automatic, and we just want to do one at a time. Next, with this idea of consistency, kind of like my example with going to the gym earlier, I need you to decide when you are going to do this behavior. We want to try to do it at the same time every day. This could be the same exact actual time, like looking at the clock, 5 p.m. like I said, or it could be relative to other kind of like landmark events in your day. So for example, when you get off work, if maybe some days you get off at 4 and other days you get off at 5, if your intention is that you just go to the gym right after work, then that's fine. You still get the cue that leaving work means going to the gym. So I'm going to ask you to identify when you'll be practicing this target behavior. Next, I want you to think about other cues that can signal to you that it's time for you to do this behavior. And we're going to do this by developing a routine. So, for example, maybe you work out after work every day, but you come home to change and do whatever else you need to do. Maybe something that becomes part of your routine is that you lay out your workout clothes on your bed before you go to work. You come home, you see them on your bed. Seeing your workout clothes serves as a cue that it's time to go work out. So you put them on and you go to the gym. That's pretty easy. Something else I need you to think about is that we only want you to be exposed to this cue when it's signaling to you that it's time to act on your behavior. So you shouldn't continue wearing your workout clothes, for example, after you're done working out. And I wouldn't want them laying out all the time. Once you get home, if this is your cue, you should take off the workout clothes and put them away out of sight. What this is going to help us do is actually increase the salience or the strength of the association between the cue, being the workout clothes in this example, and the behavior being going to the gym. If you're exposed to your workout clothes at times you're not going to the gym, then we take away from how strong the association is between the cue and the behavior. This piece can be a little bit confusing. If you have any questions about it, just comment below and I'll get back to you. Okay, so we have chosen our one behavior that we want to make a habit. We've decided when we need to practice it or when we're going to do it, and select cues that signal it's time for the behavior to follow. And both the timing and the cues need to be consistent over time until we are able to achieve the goal of becoming a habit. A couple of notes about behaviors. One, I do want you guys to track these. It's really important. Just keeping them in your mind, like, well, I put my clothes out and I went to the gym 4 of the 6 times that I intended to. Just having that in your head isn't going to be as effective. I need you to monitor this. Personally, what I find really helpful are calendars or to-do lists, something that I can check off. So something I loved from the Insanity and T25 programs by Beachbody is they give you calendars and you mark off that you did your workout every day. Similarly, you could have a calendar or a planner where it says go to the gym or whatever your behavior is, and you can mark off that you did it, and there's also something that indicates that you didn't do it on a day, whether that be an X or maybe a blank box. So we're going to monitor this. Something to keep in mind with our behaviors, with exercise, like I said, lifting every day is not something that we generally advocate for. So I will advise you, one, to consult with any professionals you're working with, but to try to do your planned routine at least 4 times a week. And even better if you can do something like your routine every day. So maybe during this time of habit formation, you say that you're going to go to the gym 4 times a week. What you can still do at the same time every day using the same cues might be putting on your workout clothes and going for a 15-minute walk, for example, or doing some push-ups and different ab workouts at home. That's something you could do that doesn't require the full behavior, but it's going to help you build on that consistency and help you create that habit even faster. Something else with food. I'm going to ask you guys to focus a little bit more on what you're going to do as opposed to what you're not going to do. So instead of saying, I'm not going to eat out, I find it more helpful for you to frame it as, I'm going to eat at home 6 nights per week. It's a little bit easier for us to track things that we do as opposed to things that we don't do. It also decreases the chances that you'll feel guilty if you do the thing you weren't supposed to do. Also, in a week or two, we're going to get into talking about reinforcement and rewards. And one thing I'm going to touch on now is that I do not want you guys to use food as a reinforcer or as a reward for your behaviors. Food is for fueling your body. It can be for social things. It's not to tell yourself that you did a good job, and I'll explain that a little bit more later. Also, if your habit behavior has to do with nutrition or food, I also want to just get the idea out of your head right now that cheat days are a thing that you get to have. I want you to get the idea of a cheat day out of your vocabulary, and if it's not already in there, forget that I ever said anything about it. Cheat days are something that athletes who already have habits can use and aren't going to be a detriment to their goals. Chances are, if you're listening to these videos, we're not quite there yet. We need to create habits first. And if you're regularly practicing breaking your habit, then it's pretty unlikely that you're ever going to be able to create that habit. So no cheat days. I also want you, like we talked about last week, to set realistic goals that you can maintain. That means we don't need a cheat day. So don't tell yourself that you're only going to eat 1,200 calories a day and it's all going to be protein, because that's not realistic, possible, or sustainable. Try to find goals that you could, because we're trying to make these habits, that you could potentially see yourself practicing for the majority of your life and be happy with it. Because that's when it's going to be really easy for these things to become habits. And that means we're going to avoid yo-yo dieting, huge fluctuations in weight. This is how we help you actually achieve a lifestyle change as opposed to just a temporary diet strategy, for example. So today we talked about habit creation. What are you going to do to create habits? Again, I want you to choose one target behavior that you're going to work to try to create a habit. And then we're going to practice that new behavior consistently and as consistently as possible. The other elements that need to be consistent are the time of the day that we're practicing the behavior, as well as cues that signal that it's time for the habit to happen. Maybe seeing your water bottle, workout clothes, turning on certain music that gets you in the mood to work out. All of those different things could be cues for your behavior. Like I said, if you have any questions, drop a line below. You can also check out my Instagram. It's Errka11, ERRRKA11. DM me if you have any questions, and I would really love to hear how this is going for people. Thanks, and I'll see you guys next week.